Opening sequence, the dressing room.
She is not being secretly watched. She is performing the idea of being watched. This is a dressing room, but not a private one. It is a stage disguised as privacy. Around 1900, cinema was still learning what it could show, and one of its earliest experiments was the female body. But that body rarely appeared without an excuse. It came as dance, as art, as mythology, as health, as comedy, as a backstage scene that pretended to reveal something hidden. Here, the woman controls the rhythm of exposure. She turns, pauses, smiles, looks toward the camera. The viewer is not discovering a secret. The viewer is being given permission to look. And that permission is what this film is really about.
Chapter 1. The Art Alibi.
Here the body is not presented as ordinary flesh. It is protected by an older language, art. The woman appears as a figure from painting, Venus, the shell, the classical pose, the promise of beauty turned into motion. This is the alibi. Early cinema could show more when it borrowed the authority of mythology. What might otherwise seem too direct becomes culture, composition, reference. The body is displayed, but it is also framed. Not simply as a performer, not simply as a woman, but as an image already known before cinema arrived. A painting begins to move, and the permission to look becomes stronger.
Chapter 2. Dance's Permission.
Dance gave early cinema one of its simplest permissions. The camera could follow the body because the body was already performing. The lifted skirt, the turn, the visible legs, the repeated gesture, all of it belongs to the stage. But cinema makes the stage more direct. There is no theater around her now, only the dancer, the frame, and the viewer's attention. The body is displayed through movement, and movement becomes the excuse for looking.
Chapter 3. The Disciplined Body.
At Madison Square Garden, the body is displayed again. But now the language has changed. This is not the dressing room, not mythology, not a dance number. It is physical culture. The woman stands as a prize-winning body, measured, posed, disciplined, made public as an image of health and proportion. The exposure is still there, but it is given a different justification. Not temptation, but fitness. Not secrecy, but demonstration. Not a private body revealed, but a modern body presented for judgment. Early cinema could look at the female body in many ways. Here, it looks through the language of discipline.
Chapter 4. The Spectator in the Frame.
Here, early cinema makes the mechanism visible. The woman is on the trapeze, performing exposure as part of the act. But she is not the only subject of the film. Look at the men. They sit inside the frame as spectators, reacting to what we are also being invited to watch. Their excitement is comic. Their presence makes the scene safer, more theatrical, almost ridiculous. But it also reveals something precise. The film is not only showing a woman's body, it is showing the social performance of looking at that body. The woman performs exposure, the men perform spectatorship, and the camera holds both in the same frame. This is why the scene matters. By the early 1900s, cinema had already found several permissions for looking: the dressing room, the mythological image, the dance, the language of health and discipline. Here, the permission becomes almost explicit. We are watching people watch. The female body is still the attraction, but the real structure is larger: a performer, an audience, a camera, and a viewer beyond the screen. These films are short, crude, sometimes comic, sometimes beautiful. But together they show something exact. Early cinema was not simply recording women. It was inventing a grammar of looking.
Reading frames, more early cinema essays.